And welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. I'm blessed to be joined by Stephen Henley. Stephen is president at Legatus International, and he's actually here at Acton University 2026. And he joins us to not only share the amazing work that Legatus is doing, but also to talk about the necessity of Catholics being faithful and engaging the transformation of the marketplace. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
Marcus, it's always a pleasure, and it's great to be with you, even though we share the same building and don't get to do this as often as we should.
No,
So,
I don't get it. It's like we barely see each other, and we're in the same building.
at least we always see each other at Mass. That's the most
right.
important part, right?
That's right. And then we both rush out and go straight to our work. Okay, so Legatus was founded on the principle that the Catholic faith is not to be isolated in the walls of the church, that faithful Catholics, legates, who are business owners, have this baptismal mandate to transform the culture for Jesus Christ in their workplace, in the marketplace. Broad strokes, but share with us about that.
Yeah, I mean, founded by Tom Monahan, and he was CEO of Domino's at the time. And, then, as we can see now, he saw Catholics that were not living as Catholics, as CEOs. And, they say it's lonely at the top, that's the old adage. And one of the reasons why he founded Legatus is so that Legatus members, the CEOs, presidents of companies, could continue their formation process. I think a lot of times they get formed in grade school and high school, college hopefully in Catholic education, and then they go off to the workforce. But then, how are they getting fed and continuing to be formed as Catholic apostles? And legatus comes from the word ambassador, to be sent forth. St. Paul says in 2 Corinthians, you are called to be ambassadors for Christ as if God were working through you. And so we, in Legatus, take that charge seriously. And I think that's where Acton has played a beautiful part to continue that formation. I mean, I haven't been through this kind of academic rigmarole since, for 20 years since I was at Ave Maria. I feel like I'm an undergrad again, but it's been fantastic, and to be able to challenge myself and kind of revert back and remind myself, hey, I need to go back into some of these books and some of these lessons to remind myself, because I do get to see it on a daily basis, CEOs and presidents and their spouses that are living this faith, but to go back to the original sources has been amazing.
I couldn't agree more, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing it, because, just given the work we both do, we don't get the opportunity for more intellectual formation, because we're in the thick of it, right?
Right.
You brought up a really crucial point, Stephen, that I want to ask you to speak into. We expect that Catholics are formed maybe pre-K through 12, some even before that, pre-K through 8, maybe college if some go on to that. Mm-hmm. And then I think at some point we sort of expect the formations done.
Yeah.
What happened? Where did we fail? Why did we do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one reason, or I guess excuse, better put, is that, as the world gets more digitized, as we continue to become more, social beings, I guess, on social media, we expect that it's just going to naturally happen. And unfortunately, how many actually go into the workforce with what they went into undergrad for? That's one factor. But then, when you get into the workforce and you hopefully meet a spouse that's going to, to challenge you and continue to hold you accountable, those are all great components. But if you get into the workforce and you're kind of working your way up, I mean, there really is not. And I think the church has identified that we just have not leaned into this type of formation. Confirmation happens for so many people at 8th, 9th grade, and then that's it. Especially for those that go to public school. In Ann Arbor, we've got the benefit of having some phenomenal schools K through 12. But not everybody has that. Yeah, and I just think that that's partly the I don't know, the downturn or the downfall of what we've had within the church, but we've identified the crisis, thankfully. And I think we're starting to rectify that. But it doesn't help that, everybody's on their phones and not opening the books, not actually looking at it. Instead we'd rather go to AI and give me the SparkNote version of what this person says or that person says. Well, we should be able to read the Constitution in cursive. We should be able to do things that our founding fathers wrote and said, and then going back to our church fathers even further.
I, like you, lover of this nation, student of the writings of our founders and framers and the people who influenced them, I firmly believe that if you're an American citizen, like I actually believe if you're a global citizen, you should at least memorize the preamble to the Constitution and preamble to the Bill of to
Declaration of Independence.
Yes, to the Declaration. But all of this is inherent and is an overflow from the heritage that we've received from Judeo-Christianity. Yeah. And so in that grander scale, Stephen, in your work, but also in your past experience, what are you seeing now in terms of the fact that we have a culture that historical amnesia that's turned to historical antagonism?
Well, I think this is where we see the beauty of Pope St. John Paul II, Pope St. John Paul the Great, in the new evangelization coming to fruition. And so we've seen these apostolates, and I think Legatus was part of the beginning of these apostolates coming forth. And so you've got Legatus, you've got the Knapp Institute, you've got Focus, you've got Acton, you've got all these great things that are working to catechize, adults, to bring them back into the faith and to help evangelize them. And so that's what we do, at least in our sphere of influence with Legatus members, is bring them together once a month, reground them in the sacraments, rosary, confession, and mass, and then have a great time, fellowship, camaraderie, build that support group, but then really try to teach them more about the faith through the different speakers we have, through challenging them to read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which Tom Monahan was so influential in helping bring to fruition back in the 90s with Cardinal Schonborn, or late 80s. All those aspects, I think, is what we are doing to kind of respond to this. I think we've identified the need that we need to continue to work on us in human development, and we're rising up, and we see that. And I've seen, Europe, especially, kind of looking at this and realizing they need to now step it up too. And oftentimes, we look to Europe and say, like, oh, you've got all these beautiful churches, but you've got nobody in them, and it's dying. And it's our turn to kind of go back and re-catechize and re-Christianize Europe. But they're taking note, too, and they're standing up as well. So, rising tides lift all ships, and hopefully we can continue to do as Proverbs says, and iron sharpens iron. So,
in about a minute, everyone listening right now is involved in the marketplace in some way. Yeah. Can you please speak to them about what they can do to continue this formation and to be ambassadors for Christ?
Yeah, it's simple. It can be simple. Simple in terms of how you exhibit your faith in your workplace, whether you're in a public company, you're working for Apple in Silicon Valley, or whether you're working at a grocery store at Kroger, whether it's what you're wearing, what you have on your desk, how you exhibit yourself, talking to the janitor, greeting people, treating everybody, those golden rules that we've been taught to live by. It's very simple, but oh so difficult, And so I would just encourage everybody. One of the sayings that I've kind of come to adopt because I need it every day is nunc cepi, begin again. And just, don't get discouraged by the different things that happen throughout the day, especially the discouragement, because that's, of the devil, and he wants to get us down. But to continue to try again every day, and that's why daily Mass is so important, going to Mass every morning. And for me, to start off the day that way, to, again, align myself with where my head needs to be.
Yeah. And for me, it's holy hour in the morning because, just desperately need it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and thank you for reconnecting. I love when we get to talk with each other.
Thank you, Marcus.
My guest has been Stephen Henley. He is the president of Legatus International, and we've been talking about what it means to be a legate, what it means to be an ambassador for Christ. And the fact of the matter is, by virtue of our baptisms, we Catholics have an obligation to evangelize, transform, and sanctify the marketplace for the propagation of the kingdom. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.